What is up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Reigns at 50 Shades of Drunk. We are back again. It has been a while, y'all, too long. We are back making some good, wholesome, home-baked IDP fantasy football content on the channel, back on the podcast feed. Um, Thanks for everybody who has stuck around on both of those. As you guys know, I've taken a year and a half-ish off of making fantasy content in earnest. Been doing some things for work, been learning how to do some coding type stuff, been coaching my son's youth tackle football team. So just doing a lot more just doing a lot more recently. And I had to take a step back from something during that time. And I just decided that content was going to be the thing that was. But as things, ebb and flow, we have the time, we have the inclination, and we are still in these streets playing IDP fantasy football. And yeah, just hyped to be back. So thank you everybody who has stuck around. And today we're gonna talk my top 25 or my top 24 2025 linebacker rankings. So these are going to be dynasty focused. All right. We're going to be using 1, 2, 3 or IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring, however you want to call it, which we have more information about on the channel. You can find it on Reddit. You can find it on various fantasy football websites, etc. But that's the scoring system we're going to use. It's kind of a good jumping off point or um, sort of litmus test that most dynasty leagues sort of use. So that's what we will be discussing it through today. And before we get into that, though, let's see what are some news, some announcements. Let's see. Oh, all right. So the fantasy football landscape has kind of changed a lot. As you guys also know, towards the end of when I was really doing, 2, 3 videos a week there for a while, was focusing a lot on dynasty stuff, but was also getting really, really deep into best ball. Well, took a year off of best ball as well. Kind of just, didn't do any of that stuff last year. Just stuck to my dynasty leagues and my home leagues, and did that thing, staying on top of the IDP and all that. But now there is a new platform out called FastDraft, and this platform is a just like sort of like an underdog or a DraftKings or like a Prize Picks, but it's a new platform that has earnest, honest, good IDP best ball options. They have a game in there called D Up. All right. This is an IDP best ball game. You only have to draft 6 players. So it's very kind of top heavy. Pick your guys. You're able to add boosters to them. And you're in an IDP tournament for the season. It's already 20% filled up. I just started doing some drafts in there this last week. 20% filled up already. I talked to the guys who are behind the scenes there and run the app. They said as soon as it fills up, they're willing to launch another one. So let's get in there. Let's fill it out. And let's start, showing people that IDP fantasy football players are out here. We are knowledgeable and we are hungry, active, and ready for this. Okay. So let's go show that platform some love. You guys can find we have a promo code IDP Army, all caps. If you go to their app, you have it on iOS and they have it in the Google Play Store for my Android homies out there. Just go there when you sign up. You can put in the promo code IDP Army, all caps, and they'll match your first deposit $50 up to $50. All right, so you put $50 on there, you're gonna get $100, and you can get in. That's 10 of those IDP D up drafts. They have a bunch of other really cool games too, especially for my dynasty heads out there. They have one that's similar to that, but it's all rookies. It's called Origins. So it's all rookies, best ball team just for that. You kind of pick your guys. I think it's 6 rounds as well. They have various payouts for how you do and various boosters. So if you have a guy you have high conviction on that you get late, you can make them sort of like the captain of your team. So this is also available in the D up game for IDP. So it's really, really cool, really, really fun. Go hop in there now. Let's set some ADPs. Let's get some values. And let's show them, like I said, the IDP fantasy players are out here. So, all right, enough of that. Let's get into the dynasty rankings for linebackers. So when I was going through this exercise of going through the data, going through the season finishes from this year, from last year, kind of updating the production profiles that I have, I'm looking for a couple of things. I'm looking for consistency. So that's players who are doing year over year sort of similar things in a couple of different areas. One of those areas is tackles. Another one of those areas is impact plays, which are, your forced fumbles, your pass deflections, tackles for loss, sacks, those kinds of plays, not just your tackles, but these are the sort of big plays, if you will. Seeing how consistent they are year over year in producing those And I'm also looking at, excuse me, I'm also looking at how, kind of how old they are, honestly, if I'm just being completely honest. Because in Dynasty, you want to get those younger players a little bit more of an edge because you want that set and forget mentality of I have a guy who's good enough that I don't have to work on that position on my team. That's kind of my thought process. So in some of these where there are older guys that maybe scored a little higher, they're going to be pushed down these rankings a little bit just because it is Dynasty. All right. So those are kind of the three primary things I'm looking at. Other things are, injury proneness, which we try to get too in the weeds on that. And the other thing is snaps. They're playing a high number of snaps. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into it. Let you know, like I said, we're going to go through the top 24. This isn't going to be a fully in-depth, like breakdown every single player and why we love them or hate them, but we're going to touch on all these guys. And it's really kind of I have them kind of in 3 tiers right now for this top 24. The top 2 the first tier has 2 guys in it, and we're gonna talk about they have different production profiles, big time, but they have things that I like about them. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let me pull this up. So my number 1 guy right now in Dynasty is da, 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 Roquan Smith. Now I know the last couple of years his production profile indicates, and you can kind of feel it in fantasy, that his impact plays have come down a little bit. So in 2024, 16 and a half, which would be 17 is counting half sacks. So it'd be 17 impact plays. 2023, 12 and a half, so 13 impact plays. But 2022 is more of the Roquan Smith that many of us are familiar with. That's a 26 impact player kind of guy. You go back even further to his 2021 season, 20 impact plays. You can see this right here. But why do I still love him even though the last 2 seasons, why do I still have him as my linebacker 1, even though the last 2 seasons his impact plays have taken a big hit? Well, it's because of the other thing I said I look for is his tackle numbers and the consistency. The consistency in his tackles this last season, 158. The year before, 154. Here, this might be easier to see on Sleeper. Year before that, 169. Year before that, 163. Year before that, 139. He hasn't been under 140 tackles in a season since 2020. And that year, he was 139. So he has a high floor on tackles. And even though with the move from Chicago, his impact plays have come down, with Baltimore, they've come down a little bit. That's just what's on paper here. I still have full faith in Roquan Smith to continue to be a high level producer. Maybe not the number 1 like he has been in years past, but I think he can get back to that with a few things kind of going his way. He's maintained that super high tackle floor, super high tackle number. I think with that, a few more of those impact plays coming back his way, maybe getting some more dynamic pass rushers um, on Baltimore, making a little bit more disruption. Maybe there's more available to him there. So I know, like I said, the impact plays are down a little bit, but in tackle heavy formats, he has been so consistent. My number 2 guy, and this is the other guy who right now is in my number in that first tier, is Zaire Franklin. All right. He had an incredible season, posting over 170 tackles this year, over 170 last year. So there's that consistency factor that I was talking about. We're gonna go look here. He's playing high number of snaps. In 2024, he played 1,156. 2023, again, over 1,000, 1,189. So that is huge. And the tackle numbers, I mean, they're undeniable. 179, 173 each of the last 2 years. And he brought the impact plays up this year. Last season, he only had 13. This year, he's up to 28. So he was becoming more dynamic year over year, at least from 2024 3 to 2024. Hoping he carries that into 2025. He could be, that third data point that makes that trend line. It's coming for him. So I love him. And he and Roquan Smith right now are my 2 top linebackers for IDP Dynasty. All right. In best ball, you might have a little bit different variance. You're going to skew more towards your big play guys. But these 2 guys right now in Dynasty are just set and forget linebackers. You're never going to have to worry about them at any point. So they're my 2 top guys right now. This year, point 0.31 points per snap for Franklin. And last year he also 0.28. That's that elite sort of number, point 0.3. He's right there year over year. I'm gonna go ahead and stamp him and say we got a good one here. All right. Now we're gonna move into that next tier, which this is like a big tier, and I'm gonna kind of move kind of quick through this tier because again, this is kind of my first shake through of my rankings. And I do want feedback from y'all. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, I know Spotify now you can leave comments. Leave me a comment. Let me know who you think is too high, too low. Give me some thoughts. Throw some players out there for me to look into. Um, I do want that feedback from y'all in the community. But this is kind of my first rankings thoughts and just kind of why I got these guys where I'm at. So without further ado, this next tier, we're gonna jump into somebody who came on the scene hot this year, and that's Zach Bond. 151 tackles this year, 26 impact plays on 939 snaps, robust 0.35 points per snap in 1-2-3 scoring. Yeah, and the way his impact plays distributed across the board, really, really nice distribution. 4 pass deflections, 5 forced fumbles, 3.5 sacks, and 11 tackles for loss. So it wasn't super heavy like into like an 18 tackles for loss and light everywhere else. He was a dynamic playmaker this year. Also had an interception in there. 5 quarterback hits. I could see that number going up big time. But it was a phenomenal season for him with the Eagles. Breakout year. I think they just paid him pretty well. I think it was a 3-year deal. Let's take a look here. We got Sleeper. Yeah, they re-signed into a 3-year deal. So he's locked in. I think he can repeat this season easily. The Eagles have a lot of good momentum right now, and he is a big part of that. Number 4 for me, after Zach Bond, who was my number 3, somebody who's moving up the rankings a lot for me. This is kind of my first shot, but I'm really, really feeling Dayon Henley. I don't know how exactly you would say his name right. Now, there are a lot of other guys who maybe you would put up here a little ahead of him, and that's fine. Let's see where I can find him. Type it in here real quick. But 279 points this year in IDP 1-2-3 scoring. Went over a thousand, a thousand, a thousand. That would be crazy. Went well over 100 tackles this year. I thought I had his profile up earlier. There it is. Yeah, 147 tackles this year. This was a big jump. His rookie season, he really didn't do much. I had him on my taxi squad and the 2 leagues that I had him on because he didn't do anything. This year he comes out, puts up 147 tackles, only 17 impact plays, but for a breakout sort of year to have 17 impact plays, only as a sophomore player, I'm okay with that. Uh, 8 pass deflections. Like that number. I like that number a lot in especially in the FastDraft format where pass deflectors are 4 points. So, if we can if we can continue to ascend, maybe he really takes command of that linebacker role there. We could see him go up. So I don't know what the temperature is kind of the community on him, but I'm really, really feeling him coming into this next year. Maybe I'm becoming a Chargers fan. I don't know. But like I said, I was able to pull him off of a lot of taxi squads this year, and he was legit. I mean, he just came through every single week with a few, with a 8, 9 tackles, and he could get an impact play a week. That's what you're looking for, especially for a guy that you're elevating from your taxi squad to your team. So I'm rolling with him. I think he has a lot of potential going forward. And right now I've got him as my linebacker 4. All right, my next guy on the list is someone that everyone is familiar with. I thought I had his profile up there as well. I don't, but it's Jordan Brooks. Okay, 301 points this last year playing for Miami, and that was incredible. I mean, in my opinion, I want to pull up his production profile because I want you guys to see his pass deflection numbers as well. I think it was around 3. Where is he at? Well, I can't find it. It's in here somewhere, but He had a pretty consistent pass deflections. Oh, there he is right there. 6 pass deflections this year, 143 tackles, 22 impact plays. Pretty good number of impact plays for him. He's known more as a tackler, generally speaking. Last year, he made 20 impact plays, 21 impact plays total on 802 snaps. So, yeah, I got him, like I said, my number 5 guy. Kind of easy to sleep on, forget about for whatever reason. He's been rock solid year over year. Points per snap, 0.29 this last season and 1-2-3 scoring. Last year, 0.31. Again, sort of that consistent number, that over year number that you want to see. And he can do it in a variety of ways. How old is he right now? He's pretty young right now. I think he's only 26, 27, 27. So you're going to get several more good years out of Jordan Brooks. So like I said, I don't want to linger too long because this is a big, big tier, guys, and you can kind of shuffle and arrange these players however you want, however you need to for how your league does scoring, et cetera, et cetera. But looking at their production profiles and seeing like how they score their points, how consistent they are year over year, that's kind of how you're going to be able to make your own adjustments for your own rankings. And like I said, let me know, like, is there anything that stands out to you in these for your league? So that was my number 5 guy. Let's move on to number 6. This is another one of those kind of shots I'm taking, but I'm taking a shot on my rankings on Jack Campbell. Again, another guy who's second year impact plays, not super high. I understand that. I kind of wish they were, but I like seeing 131 combined tackles on less than 1,000 snaps and 5 pass deflections. I like seeing 5 pass deflections because I always feel like linebackers can really get those tackle for loss numbers up and those quarterback hit numbers up, moving kind of beyond the line of scrimmage if they want to start using them like that to rush the passer. But if they can kind of hold that steady pass deflection number, especially young in their career, like 5 is like it's just a great place to start. I could see that easily going up. Kind of reminds me of kind of an early Logan Wilson. So we'll just have to kind of see. We'll have to see if it continues to develop. But again, year over year, he got a lot more play than Henley did. But 95 tackles last year. But this year, like I said, he was one of those guys you could move up off the taxi squad if that's where you had him, and you could start playing him every single week. And yeah, I think that the overall just the team is trending up. Well, it's kind of been up there for a while now. I guess Detroit, you can't really say they're trending up. They've kind of been up there for a minute. But really like Jack Campbell. Got him up in this second tier with some pretty big names. So it's my guy number 6. Moving on down. Next guy up, we have Caden Ellis. Okay, leaving the New Orleans Saints really helped him and Zach Bond's career. Caden Ellis with the Falcons this year, 151 combined tackles, 19 impact plays on 1,095 snaps, 3 pass deflections, 1 interception, 16 quarterback hits, though. Ooh, like to see that. And then 8 tackles for loss, also 5 sacks. So pretty, impact plays weren't high, but he was doing, he got back there to get after the quarterback quite a bit with 16 quarterback hits. Could have seen a couple more of those land. And then we'd be looking at, 21, 22 maybe, and we'd talk a little bit different. Not that we're not talking really, really nice about him right now. Got him inside the top 8 at linebacker going into next season. 0.29 points per snap. And then last season I have production profile only going back to 2023 right now. But last season, 0.24. Yeah, trending up. Got him in this tier. I think he's going to be dependable for you in Dynasty for another couple of years, probably. When we see there are some late bloomers at linebacker in Dynasty. I mean, a couple of the guys that we mentioned are early bloomers with Henley and Campbell, but Bond and Ellis right now kind of coming up hot late. And Zaire Franklin, who is, I think, 27 years old. So to really push himself up there, kind of at the peak of his career, not early on. Uh, yeah, that's why you got to monitor these players and kind of keep up with things. So who we got next? So that was 7, Mr. Ellis. Next I have Ernest Jones coming in at 8. 0.25 points per snap this year. 0.32 last season, though. Now he has bounced around teams a little bit, but he did secure the contract. He got a contract with the Seahawks. What they end up giving him? 3-year deal, 15 million guaranteed. So they might be able to get out of that in a year or two. But I mean, whatever. He's secured himself a spot on a team that is making moves, so he's part of the foreseeable future there. Um, been on the scene for a couple of seasons. Really like what Ernest Jones Middle put together for us. Let's look at his production profile real quick. Impact plays went down this year quite a bit, but buoyed by 138 tackles. Still 4 pass deflections. So even in a 11 impact play season, still had 4 pass deflections, which again, that's kind of my favorite. That and tackles for loss are my 2 favorite impact plays to sort of look at year over year and kind of have like a little benchmark on. So Ernest Jones. Next, we got Fred Warner. Not gonna spend a lot of time talking about Fred Warner. He honestly, I'm kind of known as a Fred Warner hater, but I've come around on him more and more the last few years. He gets Robert Saleh back this year, which I always thought he would end up playing with the Jets, but Saleh didn't last that long because Aaron Rodgers is radioactive. For whatever reason, his info is not coming up. But I know he put up 140, 150 tackles this season. I could pull. There he is. 131. Dang, I thought he had a few more than that. 4 forced fumbles, though, 2 interceptions, and back-to-back 4 forced fumble seasons for Fred Warner, too. He's been a top 12, top 15 linebacker for a long time. But again, the consistency factor, you gotta really, give it to him. He's in this tier, the second tier, in my opinion. These guys are linebacker 1 numbers, but are more like linebacker 2s, kind of, week to week, shuffle them in and out. There's quite a few of them. Fred Warner is kind of in that category, and I got him right now at linebacker 9. Next, I have 2 players who play for the Philadelphia Eagles back to back, and again, whatever order you want. But I got TJ Edwards, and I have Nakobe Dean. I'm sorry, not for not the Eagles. TJ Edward did play for the Eagles. He plays for the Bears now. Do I have his production profile up here? Let me get it open. There's TJ Watt. There he is. TJ Edwards. This last season for the Bears, 23 impact plays, 129 combined tackles on 1,055 snaps. 0.27 points per snap, a little better than my man Ernest Jones, who we were just talking about. Last season, 155 tackles on 1,041 snaps, 24 impact plays, and 0.32. So he probably should be a little ahead of some of the guys I just mentioned above him, but he's in this second tier guys that I really like. Like I said, linebacker 1 type of potential any given week, but I'm viewing, could potentially be linebacker 2s from time to time as well. Next, I got Nakobe Dean. And again, I thought I had his profile up. There's a lot of NFL players, guys, and I'm doing my best to get my production profiles all updated. Like it's been a while since I got in here and updated everything. I had like 300 guys updated at one point. I think I'm sitting around 40 or 50 right now. I'm trying to focus on linebackers and defensive line while I was doing my research, but I don't see Dean in here. We'll just pull up his sleeper profile real quick. Mr. Nakobe Dean. Yeah, really good season for him. A lot of 10 plus tackle games this last year. I can't look at his pass deflection numbers or tackle for loss numbers right now, but I know they were pretty decent this year. And he really found a home. This is a team that's been looking for that linebacker for a while. They brought in Devin White a little bit last year. I think he ended up moving to IR. They cut him. But I got Edwards and Dean coming in here at 10 and 11 for me. Where's the case? Okay, sorry, I got my notes all written out here, guys. There's Dean. All right, we'll just keep moving right along here. Close a couple of these out. Like I said, guys, leave your comments, leave your questions. I would love to hear from you. Who are you guys valuing? Who are your sleepers kind of going into this next year? What linebackers are you kind of out on? What linebackers are you in on these guys that I'm mentioning? Um, like I said, I love and want all that feedback anywhere you can give it. Yeah, I mean the linebacker landscape has changed quite a bit in the last few years. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Nick Bolton had like 180 tackle season, and we were talking about him as a top 3 to 5 linebacker. Injuries and other things, play style changes, and he's kind of come down in rankings. I'm going to bring him up briefly, but he's more of a linebacker too now. So things change. You can't hold on to any potential player too tightly, and that's why I only have the 2 players I have in tier 1. Those are the only guys I really feel like you can kinda grab onto this next year and just know, you know what I mean? And just know. Sleep really, really good at night about that position on your dynasty team. So, we're gonna go through a couple of players here kinda quick. And like I said, use that promo code, get in there, and we'll do some best ball rankings here in the near future as well. All right, number 12 for me, I have Patrick Queen. Um, and then at 13, I have Kazir White. I'm probably a little bit too high on Patrick Queen, but he's another one of these players I don't think is really ever going to go away. And he's did a little better this year than I think a lot of people thought he would. 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 sack. I know he had a handful of pass deflections, 129 total tackles. Um, well, he did take a little bit of a step back from his last 2 years at Baltimore, actually. Hmm. Probably got him a little bit too high, actually, here in my initial rankings. I said I had him at 12. I'm gonna make a note here. I'm gonna move him down a little bit, guys, just off the riff right there. But I'm gonna keep Kazir White up there. I'm gonna pull him up real quick. He's a player I've been talking about for quite a few years, and it seems like no matter what team he goes to, he continues to just be a really, really, really good IDP fantasy asset. This year, 137 tackles, 256 combined points. In each of the last 3 years, he's been extremely playable. 2021, 284 points. That was his best season. But in 2022, 215 points. And last year, 190. But only played in 11 games last year. This year comes back with Arizona, who he also played for last season. 137 tackles, like I said. 28 years old, got him in this second tier of guys who you're going to be able to depend on. Any given week, they could be linebacker ones. Right now, we're going to put them kind of in that linebacker. He's in that fringe linebacker 1, linebacker 2 area. All right. Quincy Williams, Robert Spillane. These are a couple more guys in this general area that I like. And when I get these production profiles all up and running, I'll do a little bit more in-depth show where I kind of showcase everybody. But Robert Spillane had a really, really good season this year. Signed with the Patriots. The last year, I mean, double-digit fantasy points right out of the gates the first 5 weeks of the season. Um, Slowed down a little bit on tackles, but stayed in those double-digit fantasy points every single week of the season except for week 12. That alone is impressive. So he's another one of these guys that runs into that tier. I think that I put him right around 14. Logan Wilson, Nick Bolton, again, 2 guys that 2, 3 years ago I would have had higher up on this list and a little more confidence on. Moved down a little bit. Still love Logan Wilson. I got his profile right here. But he never really. I mean, he had one really, really good season with impact plays. I think it was last year. I think he had 21. But his impact plays just hovered around like 18, 19 most of his career. And this year it seemed like they took a little bit of a step back. So I can't justify having him quite as high as I had him in my rankings back in the day. Nick Bolton, another guy, like I said, a lot of people if you have Nick Bolton, you don't need me to tell you. He has not been what he was, what you thought he was. But he re-signed with the Chiefs, 3-year deal. He's not going away. And he did miss a little bit of time with injury last year, which kind of, is part of why you remember the hurt really, really bad. And I think a lot of us expected him to come back this year and really kind of go right back to what he was in 2022. Like I said, when he was a 180 tackle player, put up 106 tackles this season in a 16 season game. or a 16 game season. That's just not what we wanted. There's still a lot of room for growth. He's still in my top 15 linebackers right now. I got him, like I said, right at 15, but you can't really, I don't know if you can count on him. He's more of a linebacker two anymore. Few other players I want to mention, just kind of round it out. Foyesade Oluokun for Jacksonville, still very much on the radar as a linebacker one. Even as he ages, kind of guy. He had injuries have kind of plagued him the last couple of seasons, but he came back this last year. It seemed like he was okay. He wasn't quite as beastly and on fire as he was 2 years ago, but yeah, still came back and managed to put up all digit games. Oh yeah, still all double digit games down the stretch, even with some kind of lower tackle numbers than you would suspect from him, a 5 tackle game, a 4 tackle game. Still managed to get double digits. Um, yeah, I should probably move him up. Where I said Patrick Queen earlier, like 11, 12, I probably should have had Oluokun. And honestly, I probably need to move him up even higher than that. But I do have him down here in my notes. Blake, and again, these are my first draft of the rankings, guys. Like I said, I'm looking at them written down here. I've got notes written in margins. I've got arrows going here and there. Move this guy up. This guy had X number of impact plays, X number of games, etc. But some other guys that I have, in the margins here are guys I need to probably move up. I have Blake Cashman. All right, he had a really good season. Josie Jewell, who we've been talking about in IDP Fantasy for a long time, never really a name that gets a lot of love. Um, but he had a great season this year with the Panthers. Jermaine Sherwood, um, they signed. I think he is right now. I'm gonna double check this because I'm pretty sure he and Cashman both play with the Vikings now. No, he's still with the Jets. I remember. I'm old enough to remember when they both played together on the Jets. Anyway, he had a great season, and Quincy Williams also on this list. He and Quincy Williams take a little step back this year, but that's only because Sherwood took a step forward. I'm still very in on Quincy Williams. He's also on this list of guys to keep, in that 18 to 24 range. Keep an eye on. And two players that I don't want people to forget about. Kind of. I'm coming to the end of the show here. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been in the pilot seat and all that, and I have a lot of notes written down. But I want to do a more in depth show very soon, and I will do that. Um, But I want to close out with Bobby Okereke and Quay Walker. I think those guys are going to be kind of lost in the shuffle. I know the end of last season, Edridge and I'll probably butcher his name, Cooper had a good sort of little run there at the end of the season for Green Bay. Quay Walker is still very much there, still very much a capable player. 3 seasons of over 100 tackles. I think it was over 140. Actually, let me check. He's quietly been doing some stuff. 24 years old, and he's on his 5th-year deal. Or they're talking about giving him a 5th-year deal with Green Bay. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said the team would like to find a way to keep Quay Walker. That might be a little coach speaky, but I believe it. He's been a good part of that team for a while now. Again, 24 years old. He has a lot of NFL experience. They seem to be doing a lot of things right with the Packers right now, and he's been a part of that for the last few seasons. So, any last thoughts? Yeah, he had 102 tackles this year, and he did miss some time. And that's kind of where Cooper came in, but it's easy to forget he came back in the playoffs and played. So he's healthy right now. There's nothing to worry about there per se. And again, in that linebacker, 2 range pretty solidly, but not somebody to completely bury. Still has some green grass ahead of him. And then Bobby Okereke took an injury pretty early in the season last year, but has been one of the more dominant. Not early in the season. I guess he made it a little while. Why did it feel like that so early then? He didn't get hurt till week 13. Didn't finish out the rest of the season. Herniated disc, it says in his back, 4 to 6 weeks. So, yeah, he just didn't finish out the season for the Giants. For whatever reason, I had had it in my head that he went out more like week 6 or 7. But oh well, what are you gonna do? The mind is a crazy thing. But yeah, right now that's kind of my overall thoughts on my top 24 linebackers. Like I said, thanks for bearing with me. It's been a while since I've done a show. I'm gonna try to work on getting the graphic situation back situated a little bit more, kind of where we liked it. But yeah, for Dynasty, that's kind of where I'm looking for my top 24 linebackers right now. I want to have 3 of those guys on my team, maybe 4 if I'm starting, 3 linebackers for sure, or 2 linebackers and multiple flex. I want 3 of those guys on my team to kind of lock in. But yeah, let me know what you all think, what your all thoughts are about the linebacker situation in Dynasty. I'm finding it to be so not, over the years of playing it, I'm finding it to be less dependable than I thought it would be when I first started, especially the way everyone talked about tackles being so fundamental. And I have found in my dynasty leagues and in the dynasty rankings, for defensive line players, that has been a place where I've actually been able to find a little bit more consistency. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you all think. And yeah, like I said, check out the FastDraft app. We're going to be doing some IDP best ball content as well. I'm going to be doing IDP best ball rankings for that platform soon. Their scoring is a little bit different. It skews more towards big plays, a little bit different than 1, 2, 3 scoring. But that's what it is, and we can adjust. And we're going to go out there and we're gonna do what we do, IDP Army and IDP Fantasy Football fans. We're gonna play and we're gonna win, and we're gonna show people that hey, IDP is it's the real deal. You're watching already fantasy football. You're watching the offense. The defense is out there. Let's get after it. So I'll be back next week. And like I said, the plan right now is to do a show a week. I'll be back with more dynasty rankings, probably talking defensive line, then talking defensive backs. Then we're going to get really, really, the NFL draft will be coming up. Then we're going to re-go over the rankings again, talk about them through the dynasty lens and through the best ball lens. So, till next time.
In a wormhole, probably about to burn. In a white tunnel, are you ever gonna learn?